pretty age gay back. Yeah, it's a pretty age gay back.
I'd like to get you on a slow boat to China.
Hello and welcome to Long Live Hooky Street, the podcast where we rewatch and discuss every episode of Britain's most beloved TV comedy, Only Fools and Horses. I'm Jenny and I'm joined from Hong Kong by my co-host and sister Heather. Say hello, dude.
Hello! This is going to be another two-parter. Today we are discussing part one of the 1988 Christmas special, Dates. So grab a Malibu and Cherryade and let's get started.
So here we are, Christmas 1988. I was 4 and Heather was 2, and you were so annoying, dude.
I know, I have no doubt.
We don't remember it happening, but Only Fools and Horses aired, as it always does now on Christmas Day, December 25th, 1988, at 5:05 p.m. Nice, weird time. It actually followed the BBC's premiere of Back to the Future, and was followed by the news at 6:25 p.m. It has a kind of a weird running time, this one. It came out at 80 minutes in length. It's the only episode of this length. Viewing figures hit 16.6 million, which is not the highest for a Christmas special, but it had gone back up since The Frog's Legacy. So it may have suffered a hit after the Royal Flush, maybe, but which still has the highest viewing figures so far, ironically, at 18.8 million. Christmas number one for 1988 was Mistletoe and Wine by Cliff Richards. And top of the UK box office was Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
God, that movie scared the crap out of me when I was a kid.
And the overall highest grossing movie of 1988 was Fatal Attraction. BBC One this year had many of its usual stuff. Christmas Morning with Noel was still on, but no Russ Abbott show this year. A feature-length episode of EastEnders had become a staple after last year's record-breaking viewing figures. We have the usual Top of the Pops Christmas show and the Queen's Speech. Cliff Richard was milking his number one hit by co-hosting a Songs of Praise Christmas special with Sally Magnuson.
At 5:05, Only Fools and Horses.
My brother handles things when I'm not there.
Christmas cheer on BBC One.
Christmas 1988 may also be remembered by many as the time of the Lockerbie bombing. Pan Am Flight 103 exploded over the town of Lockerbie due to a Libyan terrorist bomb, and 270 people were killed, which includes 11 on the ground. The Queen spoke on this in her speech this year, since it occurred on December 21st, just a few days before Christmas. Obviously a very sad headline, but it might ring a bell that this was at the forefront of many people's minds this Christmas. I actually watched lots of documentaries about the Lockerbie bombing, and I watched the movie that Timothy West was in that was made about it as well. There's actually a lot of people now who dispute the person that was arrested for the crime. Some people think that he couldn't have done it and he was taking the fall for other people. There's a lot of conspiracy theories around this, I guess is what I should say. Okay, dude, do you have the episode facts for us?
Yes, I do. So we touched upon this in the Series 5 wrap, but this episode marked an important turning point for the Trotter story. John Sullivan wanted the longer episodes specifically because he had strong ideas of how he wanted the characters to mature and find permanent relationships. David Jason wanted this for Dell also. So here we're seeing the beginning of this in Dates. Rodney's plot was essentially meant to be the one last romantic embarrassment for the youngest Trotter. Although I think we can agree he embarrasses himself plenty of times in the future too. This was the first episode directed by newly appointed director and former production manager Tony Dow. Dates was apparently John Sullivan's favourite episode according to his son Jim Sullivan. So that makes this one a very special episode in so many ways. This was the first episode to use Bristol for many of the location shots representing London, although there were still many shots in London, obviously the clock at Waterloo. Probably an obvious piece of trivia, here we get the first appearance of Raquel, played by Tessa Peake-Jones, but also 3 more new characters appear this week. Jevon and Chris, who are Rodney's buddies, and Nervous Nerys, the new barmaid at the Nags Head. Speaking of the Nags Head, we're also waving in a new era here with the first appearance of the rotated bar set, which remains from now until the very end of the show. And speaking of Raquel, John Sullivan is quoted as saying in the official Inside Storybook that he hadn't actually planned to bring Raquel back. This was a trial episode to see how Dell could handle a more mature relationship. So I wonder if we'll ever find out exactly when it was that he changed his mind about that. And as usual, I will have more trivia to scatter throughout the episode breakdown. Shall we move on to our episode rankings, dude?
Yes, let's do that. So our regular listeners will know by now that each week we reveal and compare our rankings for the episode. And prior to recording the entire podcast, we independently ranked all 64 episodes. If you didn't already know all that, then you are not yet one of our regular punters. And we would love for you to subscribe to the podcast. We release a new episode every Saturday. We also have our social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram, as well as our account on buymeacoffee.com, where you can send us a tip in the form of a pina colada. If you have any cash on the IP, of course. Yeah, if you want to support us on there, that would be great. And we really appreciate all the supporters that we already have gotten on there. Thank you for that. So, dude, your ranking for dates, I'm guessing this one is pretty high. Yeah. Do you want to guess mine or shall I guess yours?
I'm going to guess yours. First of all, I want to guess it's in your top 10.
No.
Okay. Then I'm going to guess it's number... How about 13?
Oh, very close. My number is 14.
Oh, 14. Okay.
Like Valentine's Day.
Yeah. I told you that I look at your at our chart so I can see which slots of yours are free. So I'm not going to end up guessing the same number that you've already used.
Well, I'm going to guess yours is in the top 10 because you guessed mine was in the top 10.
Mine is in my top 10. Yeah, it is.
Okay. I don't have the thing in front of me, but I'm going to guess 8.
Okay, it's actually my number 6.
Ooh.
Yeah. And IMDb, you're very close. 13. IMDb match. I forgot to look at Fran.
Yeah, mine is 14 because this episode for me is a huge nostalgia boost because it was one that we had on tape. But I actually wanted to ask you about this. We had some parts missing, didn't we? On our VHS. Like, I don't think the part where Raquel was revealed as a stripper was on our videotape. Didn't we just have the end of this episode on tape?
No, I my memory is the opposite way. Our VHS again, and I think you're sensing a theme here that we always miss the end of stuff because same thing happened with Raw Flush. Our video ended when the engine fell out the van.
That's probably why I think so. But I don't remember seeing Raquel's scene where she stripped. I don't know if that was something that was like hidden from me.
I don't
remember seeing it.
I don't remember us having that.
Yeah, I remember being like really amazed the first time I saw it because obviously I knew it had happened. I felt like I watched the scene outside the Nags Head so many times, but not the actual scene before that. I'm not sure why that's in my mind. But yes, I do remember something about the engine falling out the car and that being significant because that was where it ended, was it? I thought we had some of the bit in Sid's cafe and it ended like in that scene. No?
The reason I think it ended like for us when the engine fell out the van is because I thought that the theme song had changed to that weird music that's like ding, 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 and that was like I thought that was the end of the episode. Anyway,
okay.
Fran ranked at 24. That's so low.
Oh, that is quite low for Fran.
Yeah, Fran, what don't you like about it? Yeah, that's our sister Fran, and the reason I'm adding that is because she's just like 18 months older than me, so it's like all the same memories that we have, so it's just interesting to see if she ranks them similar, but no, that's way off.
So what's your reasons for ranking this so high? Because this is in your top 10, so...
Again, yeah, I really, as a kid, really enjoyed the vibes of this episode. I do understand now why some people don't like it as much because it's not about trading. It is weird how... So we'll get this in the episode breakdown, but you immediately find out the second the episode opens that they've got plenty of money. And then there isn't anything about trading in this episode.
Yeah.
And but for me, as a kid, I always liked the personal relationships episodes more. This is just a really fun episode for me. You've got your two storylines going off, you know, like it's energetic. It's quite fast paced. It doesn't drag for me, even though it's long.
Yeah, that's a big point. Yeah, that it doesn't feel... Well, it felt long when I was doing the episode breakdown, but... That's because I was writing notes, but yeah.
So the other thing is that obviously we grew up seeing Raquel and Cassandra already with Rodney and Dell, and then we went back and saw this episode years later. So for me, like painting that background and finding out how Raquel and Dell met, I loved it.
Yeah, true.
It was nice to get back and see that. But yeah, I do think it's a strong episode. I mean, if it's John Sullivan's favorite episode, there's got to be a lot of good stuff we can say about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yeah, I think the biggest thing about this episode as well is as you mentioned in the introduction, the change. You can really feel a big change in this episode, in the atmosphere, and even the way that it's dramatized more. I know we have some dramatic moments in earlier episodes. We've spoken about them in Strained Relations and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire are the two that come to my mind. But this episode, I feel, even though I guess the subject matter isn't as heavy as those two, we get some proper dramatic acting in this episode, particularly from David Jason. And it's not just in one scene, it's in a couple of scenes. And also Tessa Peake Jones. I mean, she must have been so intimidated coming in. A lot of the guest stars to this point have had, you know, bits and pieces to do, but not this much. I mean, she has got like entire scenes where she's the one doing most of the talking, and she's sitting there with this legend at this point, David Jason, that everybody loves, and playing his love interest coming in. That must have been so much pressure on her, and I think she pulls it off fantastically. She's likable. I would say Raquel is the first likable female character in the show.
Yeah, you could argue that. Yeah,
so far pretty much every single female character that we've seen, particularly the ones that have been a love interest, I haven't liked any of them. And that's pretty much all the female characters have been, with the exception of Maureen, of course. Maureen, good old Maureen.
But we didn't get much character development with Maureen. She's just like a comic sidekick, yeah. I was going to say, we've talked about that before, about John Sullivan's sensitivity around the ability to write a comedy female character, because in the past he admitted himself that a lot of his female characters that were meant to be funny, they were funny because they were, you know, super bitch, or like totally. Like the older woman that's wrong for Rodney and stuff. So this is his opportunity to, I mean, by this point he'd already had great success with other romantic comedies like Just Good Friends, so he was better at it. And like I mean, these are his words saying he wasn't good at it. I never thought he wasn't good at it, but I did think he slipped into tropes a little bit. He's obviously good at it.
It is harder to write comic female characters. I mean, I even think about the world of comedy. Even today there are still an awful lot less female comedians than there are male ones. And it is just something that I don't know what it is. Like, speaking from a woman's perspective, I don't know what it is about comedy and females. Like, it just seems to be harder. I don't get it, or like maybe not as recognized. I'm not sure what it is. I think that nowadays there is a pretty level playing field for men and women, and there's still less female comics. So I don't really know why that is. I'm sure people will have opinions on that. But for this episode, even though Raquel was a huge part of it, I wouldn't say she had any very comedic parts in this whole thing. Yeah. It was all very dramatic acting, serious, and again, likable. Sort of, she brought that character to life, and just, yeah, to be likable in a show like this so far as a woman has been a real difficult task. And yeah, I just think she did a great job, and that maybe is why this episode is still considered one of the best ones, because if Raquel had been miscast, if Raquel hadn't been likable, you know, I think, yeah, it would have been a massive failure, because she was such a huge part of it. So
yeah. Also, what if they had never brought her back? This was a one-off appearance. It might not be as beloved, because people look back at this and they're like, oh yeah, it was the beginning of the Dell and Raquel relationship. But yeah, it may not have ended up being that way. And also, it's a well-rounded episode in the fact that it has nice vibes overall. I mean, it doesn't really have a happy ending, but it's not a sad ending. It's kind of a will they, won't they ending almost, in a way.
Yes, definitely.
But for Christmas Day, you've got all the side characters, you know, you've got that,
yes.
You know, lots of
except for one very noticeable absentee, which is Denzel.
Well,
it's very strange that he's not at Albert's party and everybody else is.
But Denzel, though, I mean, we've said this before, he didn't go to the wedding of the Frog's Legacy. He hasn't been fully introduced as a permanent side character, and that only starts in series 6. He's only in episodes occasionally up until this point. He wasn't part of the gang that went to the Frog's Legacy wedding. That's just what makes me think he wasn't really fully included until series 6. But yeah, this episode would have definitely benefited with a Denzel appearance.
Yeah, that was literally the only thing that I thought when I was looking at the array of side characters, because as you say, all the side characters have something to do in this episode, and it's actually integral to the plot. You've got Boise with the Masons, and Trigger sees Rodney, you know, in the car and stuff, and Mike with his anger about renting out the Nags Head for Albert's party. Like, it all kind of goes together in the plot.
And having a party, is always a great way to bring everybody together. I think Trigger's more integral to the plot because he's the one who introduces Dell to the dating agency, to be honest.
Yeah, sorry, that too.
Yeah.
Even. Yeah, sorry, I didn't even think about that. I was talking about him seeing Rodney in the car, but yeah, he's also, he's the one who goes on a date. So yeah, it's...
Yeah, I think it's got good energy.
They're not just there, is what I'm saying for this episode. Like, sometimes when the side characters are in scenes, they're just there because, let's have a Dave joke, or something like that. But it wasn't like that for this episode. It was important that they were there, and I really like that too.
That was like a royal flush. They just put Trigger in that first scene just to have one Dave joke, and then they were like, oh, we forgot to put him in the rest of the episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a good old classic. I know, I mean, like I say, I've read criticisms of it, but most of the criticisms come from the fact that it is a big shift in tone, and that's understandable because we've talked about all the different ways this is a shift in tone. It's the first non-Ray Butt episode. It's the first episode directed by Tony Dow. It's the first episode in Bristol. It's the first episode with the rotated set. It's the first episode with the new story arc for the Trotters. Of course it feels different.
It's the first episode with handsome Rodney.
Oh, no, I thought you said Series 6. I mean, I know this is, in a weird way, kind of like Series 6 because it was...
Well, I bring it up in the episode breakdown, so I won't talk about it too much now. But yeah,
so James,
there's a very noticeable difference in Rodney in this episode in many ways, which I'll talk about in the breakdown.
Okay, yeah, I just had one more thing to say, and that is that, again, because still haven't had an answer on this, it says in the lovely Jubbly book that dates won a BAFTA. And again, I looked and it doesn't say. No, I looked. I looked and it said that Only Fools and Horses won the BAFTA for Best Comedy Series in 1988, but it doesn't say anywhere dates. So, again, is it because they submit an episode for consideration? Is that why this book keeps saying this episode won this? Or what? Maybe someone can help me out again. But yeah, anyway, let's move on into the episode breakdown, dude.
La 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 la.
So before we begin going into the actual scene, I believe Jenny has something she wanted to say about the titles.
Yeah, just because I had a note on just the opening credits. And so one fun fact about this episode is this is the episode with the shortest title. And my own personal observation is that it looks like it's stretched out on the screen. And
it does. Yeah. It's weird spacing. Yes.
And when I was a kid, I thought it was an acronym. Like, because what'd you feed him on?
You're in acronyms.
I thought that it had dots between the letters. I don't know why, but for years.
No, I did too. I did too. Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, it is weirdly spaced. I agree with you. I'm not sure why.
Maybe because they were like, well, it's too small and short of a title. So.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I can't remember. I feel like I've read somewhere that this was one that had a longer title and they reduced it, but now I don't remember the fact, so it's not very interesting. But...
I mean, I think the title sums up the episode.
It does.
Nicely, so.
Yeah, they are going on.
Okay,
dates, yeah.
So exactly. So want to watch them stones though, because Dell got one caught in his throat. Okay, so anyway, we begin in Nelson Mandela House with Dell watching television and Rodney doing some sums. Rodney asks,
have you got any idea how much money we made recently?
Loads of bunts, Rodders, loads of bunts.
We have made nearly £2,000 in the last month.
So right from the beginning of the episode, we know that the Trotters are in the money for this episode. So in my opinion, there is already a different feel to this episode compared to the previous series. And Rodney is coming across more mature and handsome, in my opinion. I point that out.
He's coming across more handsome.
He's coming across more handsome. He is. You know what? It might be his haircut. His hair is neat and nicely cut. Like in previous years, I think he's a bit more like shaggy. I don't know what it is. He just looks more put together. I can't explain it. Nick Lyndhurst, could you please comment and let us know?
I gotta say, I think Rodney looked better when his hair was a little longer.
Yeah, no, see, I think I'm more of a fan of the boyish good looks. But anyway, Dell reminds Rodney to get rid of all the receipts and paperwork associated with their dealings. So I think it's interesting to see that now, because we haven't really had any references to the business dealings of the Trotters behind the scenes for a while. It felt like it was a big focus in like series 1 to establish who they are and how they do business, but it hasn't really been touched upon in recent episodes. So it was kind of like a little reminder that Dell is always like, get rid of the receipts, like don't have any evidence of anything that we do. Yeah, just a good reminder.
Yeah.
So Albert enters carrying an old box.
What's that dirty-looking thing?
That is your uncle, Rodney. Please show a bit more respect.
Albert tells them that the box is full of photos and keepsakes from his days in the Navy. So Dell offers to chuck it down the chute for him.
I know, why does he say that? It's so mean. This is the
Because they're having a laugh at him, aren't they? So Rodney actually appears to take an interest in what is inside the box and asks Albert about one of the photos. And we spoke about Rodney doing this in The Frog's Legacy when he seems to take an interest in Albert's war stories. But fortunately this time, because Rodney and Dell are in such good moods, they don't chastise Albert or be mean to him. Instead, they have a good laugh with him about it. So Dell also comes over and has a look at a photo.
What's this here, look? 1941, my birthday party on board HMS Peerless.
Albert tells a story about what happened on his birthday all those years ago, so I'm just going to summarise this here. So Albert and his friends have been out drinking for his birthday, and they brought one of the dancing girls back to the submarine, and they saw a Japanese enemy sub in the area, and they were supposed to protect another ship, HMS Pinafore, but instead they crashed into the ship instead of protecting it.
It's a good job she was there, actually. She picked up most of the survivors.
And we find out that Albert was supposed to be on watch at the time in the radar room. Blibs and blobs. All this becomes important later in the story. And it's nice to get a little bit more history about Albert's time in the Navy and just how incompetent he was, as if we didn't know that already.
So then they tried to get me on naval technicalities. Like, it was in broad daylight.
You didn't see an aircraft carrier.
42,000 tons of steel.
In broad daylight.
Well, I wasn't close enough.
Well, you must have been reasonably close, aren't you, Itty?
So we find out that Albert was to be court-martialed for this incident.
Aww.
But as luck would have it, the Japanese invaded and he never heard another word about it. So the whole story ends with Albert's iconic laugh.
And the blokes in my lifeboat used to say I was unlucky.
I forgot about the whoop whoop. I love that.
So Albert's laugh is like firmly cemented in the show now as like a
Yeah.
catchphrase for his character, which is brilliant because it is such a great laugh and it cracks me up every time I hear it. So after Albert leaves, Rodney and Dell figure out that the reason Albert may have brought the photos out to show them is because he wants them to know about his birthday, his upcoming birthday, and maybe organise a surprise for him.
So he wants a surprise for his birthday, does he?
Well, what are you going to do?
I don't know yet. But I'll think of something to pull him up a bit lively.
The scene ends with a joke from Rodney, but I actually love David Jason's impersonation of Albert shaving his beard with an electric razor. There's just something about the way that David Jason sticks out his chin that I find really funny. So, yeah, that's all I have for that scene. Any notes on that scene, dude?
Yeah, I should have. I didn't actually write this down, but just after what you said, the whole vibe of the scene is really funny. And light-hearted, and the mood is really nice. Like this, because I mean, you could say it's probably Dell and Ronnie are happy because they're making lots of money. Because even Albert points out, like, what's the matter with you two? Like,
you two daft sons.
I wonder if this was a deliberate decision, like to say, right, the opening scene needs to be really, really, really positive because, like, this is not it's not the first episode after Royal Flush because that was the Frog's Legacy. But by this point, he might have been thinking, oh, I want to change the vibes of the show to make sure that, it's not dark. Because there is some dark parts in this episode. Not dark, but sad, or they say, like...
dramatic.
Yeah,
it's more dramatic.
It's dramatic, yeah, that's a better word. Yeah,
like melodramatic.
Yeah, and you see a side of Dell's character coming out a lot more here, like his vulnerability and his emotional side. So they needed to balance that, and John Sullivan did a great job because a lot of these scenes are really just very funny and all just jokes, which balances the drama that comes later. So my first note was Rodney's at it again with the calculator. He loves adding stuff up on the calculator. That's true, because you don't see many people using those old-fashioned calculators now, so it's kind of funny.
No.
Although we have a ton of them at work, and I must admit I struggled to turn one on the other day. I was like, oh, what's going on? So £2,000 then would be £5,617 now. So imagine making that in 1 month. That's quite a lot for the Trotters, isn't it? So I thought that was pretty good. So yeah, again, like you pointed out, this episode is it's immediately being painted that it's probably not going to be about money because they've got plenty of money. So unless they're going to make some big investment or something, but it's starting off with discussions about a potential surprise for Albert's birthday, and it's going off at a different tangent. It's probably not about the business. So
yeah.
And I wrote what you said about the receipts. It's a good thing Rodney didn't listen to Dell and throw away the receipts, although he probably was throwing all these receipts away. He just kept all those ones from, the days of the Lesser Watch when he first started working for Dell.
Yeah.
I wrote here, Clarence the Cross-Eyed Lion is a movie from 1965 starring Marshall Thompson and Betsy Drake. So that's because Dell calls Albert Clarence the Cross-Eyed Lion, right?
Right, yeah. Sorry, I didn't put that quote in. Yeah.
No, that's okay. I'm just explaining what that means. So I guess, and I also noted here, courts-martial are actually very serious.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, there are formal military trials for serious offences that can result in very serious punishments like confinement, dishonourable discharge, and even death, and can lead to a federal criminal record. So, obviously, there's different levels of courts-martial, but it's a very serious offence.
Yeah, to be honest, I only know about court-martials from Star Trek.
I don't know if they have the same rules in space.
Well, no. I mean, they're very serious because Star Trek, at its heart, is a military organization. Starfleet is a military organization, but I don't think they kill people in the 24th century because we've evolved by then, according to the writers.
But yeah, I really love this particular Albert story, the way that it develops, the way that it just keeps adding in little things then it was in the middle of the day, it was in broad daylight. Yeah. And then they're like, I wasn't close enough to see it, or you hit it.
yeah, totally.
I think it's really well done, very well timed, and then the sarcasm and stuff from Dell and Rodney is really good. So yeah, that's all I had for that scene.
Okay, cool. So we go now to the Nags Head, and this is the new Nags Head, as Jenny mentioned earlier. So the first time in this set. And I assume this is the next day.
It could be, yeah. I don't
didn't
think
really
it matters.
know when it was compared, but because he asked about the birthday party, so I assumed it was the next day. And Dell didn't look like he was going out on that day because he was sitting there in his dressing gown. So, yeah. So anyway, Albert is singing his classic song, and I find Albert singing highly nostalgic. Every time I hear that little ding 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 and stuff on the piano, I always think, and I think that's probably why they chose to play that song at his funeral, in the funeral part of the episode in the 2000 episodes, because that song is Albert's song, isn't it? Any Fools and Horses fan that hears that song will always think of Albert playing on the piano. Good old Buster Merrifield. So Boycie and Mike are sitting at a table looking particularly unimpressed by Albert's playing. That said, Boycie is the only one who applauds when Albert finishes singing, although it is more like a patronising slow clap. But Albert, bless him, still takes a bow.
Yeah, he does, even if no one's
So
watching.
cute. Yeah, I love that. I'd love to have that level of confidence when I get away from playing on the piano if no one likes me and I'm still like, take a bow. Anyway, Mike and Boycie both comment about how awful Albert's piano playing and singing is.
He's a trotter. What more can you say about the man?
Now we get this really funny anecdotal story about the origins of the trotters in Peckham. Now, obviously, it's all bluster, it's all bullshit from Boycie, but I think this is so funny. So I'll just pick out a couple of the highlights from me.
Did you know 500 years ago this was a green and peaceful area? And then one fateful medieval day, the Trotter clan arrived in a stolen Zephyr. Before you knew it, the flaxen-haired maidens were up the spout, the old Earl had been sold some hooky armour and someone nicked the maypole. Then 100 years after that, the Black Death arrived in England. The people of Peckham thought their luck had changed.
So that whole story is just brilliant. Again, John Challis, amazing delivery, just epic. I feel like this is the beginning of the era where Dell is portrayed as more of a nuisance friend than a cool one. Because I think about the way that Dell is with Trigger and Boycie. Trigger actually doesn't change really his way of treating Dell, but Boycie and Mike and Denzel, they all seem to sort of, from now on, every time Dell's not around, they kind of speak about him like he's a problem, or like they don't want to be friends. Like you kind of get implied that they don't want to be his friend, or they think he's annoying and all this sort of stuff. And I don't know if it's just because we haven't seen any conversations before this era without Dell sitting there and having them talking about him. But you know what I mean? I'm not sure if I'm articulating this very well, but yeah, it's like it just feels like there's a shift in the attitude towards Dell's character. And now, like in the olden days when Dell used to walk in, everyone would be like, yeah, Dell boy. And from now on, it's like, oh God, here come the trotters, like that kind of thing. It's almost like they became caricatures of their previous self. I'm not really sure if I'm saying that right, but yeah. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you're right, because so in Yuppie Love, which is the next episode, and which kind of does get tied together with this one as the beginning of Series 6, the shift of Dell's character to become the yuppie is the time in my head that it became Dell is now this like yuppie character that's kind of all like oblivious to the fact that he's coming across kind of silly with this yuppie image.
Yeah.
And then from then on, like you say, there's Raquel's kind of cringeworthiness with him later in Series 7, where she doesn't want him to talk to her friends. And then there's like Chloe and Adrian. And then there's like the bar, you know, where he thinks he's being cool and everyone around him is thinking, no, he's not.
Yeah.
This is the beginning of that kind of yuppie era of Dell where so again, another reason why some people might not like this era of Only Fools and Horses compared to the old ones, because you're right. Like if you think back to like Series 1 and 2, Dell coming in the pub was not necessarily a moment that a lot of people turned around and were like, we've got to get out of here. Look, it's him. Oh God, it's him.
Yeah.
But
oh God, it's him.
yeah, like that is a shift, which I know is a deliberate choice because I've got notes on it for Yuppie Love. And yeah, you're right. His friends are on the bandwagon, not Trigger. But
no,
I mean, Denzel is the only one that's always been like afraid and runs away when he sees Dell because he's always like, please don't make me rich.
But then I was gonna say Denzel kind of has a reason. Because Dell has done a lot of like really bad things to him. But Mike, like, what reason does Mike have to be so like sort of mocking of Dell? And again, it's not just Dell; it's like the Trotters as like a clan, like Dell, Rodney, and Albert, like together as, you know, kind of talking about them being a problem, like the family's a problem. That's kind of how this is,
I think, because we said,
like put out there.
Yeah, like when we first met Mike, and Mike does a deal with Dell and he doesn't really know, even though he says he's heard of him and stuff. Mike gradually gets more and more like fatigued by Dell's like pushiness, and he's already got that in like Tifa 3 and stuff. Like, I don't want to buy the computer and stuff. So it's basically just like everybody kind of just getting to their breaking point with him, I guess, of like they don't want to buy any more of his stuff. They don't want to be involved in any more of his schemes. And it goes back and forth, obviously, because they all do end up in the scheme and chain gang, obviously, don't they?
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, this is just kind of a thing that they now have where like, oh God, he's coming, here he comes kind of thing. It's maybe,
Here she comes to wreck the day. Sorry, another liar quote.
Did you watch Liar Liar recently or something?
I did watch a clip show.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just thought that was something interesting to talk about. So Trigger enters the Nags Head wearing his bright blue suit. So this is the first time I think we see this bright blue suit. I know we see it again in Class of 62.
This is the official first time that we see it, yeah. Although, I'll just add this note in now. It says in the script, Trigger wears a brown two-piece suit, purple shirt, orange tie covered with colourful V-neck jumper and carrying a small spray of flowers. So the blue suit was not in the script, but
why do I feel like Roger Lloyd Pack would have had something to do with that decision? I don't know. I just feel like he might have.
I love the blue suit.
It just works so well. Yeah, it works so well. It's something that it's totally Trigger. Like Trigger would choose that and be like, yeah, this will make me look sharp. So yeah, I really like that suit. And Mike gives Trigger a scotch.
How do you know I wanted a scotch? Because if I was dressed like that, I'd want a scotch.
So Trigger says he's taking a lady out to lunch, and Mike and Boise don't believe him. Trigger is oblivious to the fact that they're making fun of him, as always, and this makes me wonder about Trigger's romantic history, because they've all known each other since high school, with the exception of Mike, and has Trigger really never had, like, a girlfriend before?
No.
He's not ugly, and he's got a very nice manner, and he's arguably the most polite out of all the boys, especially towards women, I'd imagine. So I'm surprised that Trigger would have never had a girlfriend before, because this is kind of what is implied here. Like, are you sure you're going out with someone?
It is implied, but then in Series 7, there's that moment where he tells the story about how about spending a weekend there. There is that romantic story, But yeah, like
I love that.
You're
story.
right. There hasn't been much in the way of development of Trigger's romantic side. No, because there hasn't been time.
No.
I mean, John Sullivan really has not had time to develop side characters until this series.
Oh yeah, no, I don't even think it's that. I just think it's the fact that like his friends think he's not lovable or he's not attractive. And it's like, actually, Trigger's kind of gormless personality actually would be very attractive to a lot of women, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing unattractive necessarily about Roger Lloyd Pack. I think they're making fun of him because he is Trigger, because he's, you know...
Yeah, of course. But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I guess they're looking at it from a man's perspective. They're like, why would anyone want to be with him? But from a woman's perspective, I can say, I think, yeah, Trigger's lovely. I'd have dated Trigger. So Dell and Rodney enter and they see Trigger in his suit.
Is it Comic Relief Day again?
Dell, it ain't Comic Relief Day, mate.
I've got a date. Oh, you want to watch them Stones because they've got one caught in his front last Christmas.
I just think it's really funny that Rodney would presume he's talking about the fruit before he'd think about him dating a woman. And I guess it just hits home, like, again, how unusual it is, or how unusual it must be to see Trigger with a date, because they all are just having this reaction. So Trigger says he doesn't know who this woman is because he's been matched with her through a dating agency.
The Techno Match Friendship and
Matrimonial
Matrimonial
Agency.
Agency.
That is a long ass name. I don't think that's going to catch on somehow. You should just call it Techno Match. That would have been fine. So Trigger said it cost him 25 quid to sign up. And I wondered actually, is that pretty expensive, or was that pretty expensive at the time?
Yeah, it's roughly, I mean, I've been doing a lot of these conversions, so I'll just guess this one off the top of my head because I didn't put this one, but that'd be roughly about 75, 80 quid, right? Because it's about three times.
I mean, I've never ever paid like for a dating service, but is that a lot of money? Maybe people can tell us in the comments.
I don't know, because now like our entire era, as far as I know, is all just been online, and are most of those free, or at least the free trials. I don't know, but there's also
like Tinder's free. But then I'm pretty sure on all sorts of like dating app website things now you can upgrade. There's always an option to upgrade. And I mean, I can only think of one that I used, which isn't a dating app. It was to find a roommate in Hong Kong, and it's called easyroommate.com.
Oh, I use
really
that
funny.
too. My easy roommate.
Yeah. It's so funny. But that one, I remember there was such a catch because like you had to pay in order to read and send messages.
Yeah.
So it's like you could go on there for free and look at, oh, this person looks great, but then you had no way of contacting them unless you paid.
Right.
So
well, I was going to say actually, because this was 1988. Obviously, there was no internet, and this was something that Sullivan took inspiration from things that he'd seen, like these dating agencies and matrimonial agencies, and this would have been standard for a charge. Yeah.
I didn't know if that was a lot of money or not for that service.
It seems expensive, but then if you're talking about finding a wife, because you just sign up and you get unlimited amount of dates, right?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Because I don't know what she looks like either. No, wait, that's not true. Maybe not.
But yeah, so Trigger also said that they don't show you pictures of each other, which is what you just said. And I honestly... I don't think I'd want to meet someone if I hadn't seen a picture of them first. I know that sounds like I'm really shallow, and I probably am.
Well, it's the opposite now, isn't it? You only see a picture, and then if you like the picture,
that doesn't work for me either. Like, I don't want to just see a picture either. But like, I think I would need to see a picture because physical attraction is an important part of dating. And like, if you don't know at all, like you have no idea what they look like at all, like there's not even a description of them, which there clearly isn't because Dell thought this blonde woman was Raquel later on.
Exactly.
So it's purely like totally up to chance. And yeah, I kind of would want to know before I met them.
I think
what
you
they
need
look
to
like.
see a picture. Yeah, I don't think there's anything like superficial about that. You should be able to at least see. I mean, for safety, if nothing else.
Well, yeah, exactly. And also, like, I mean, you can describe, like Dell says, like she's got to be a bit of a sort. Like, what does that even mean?
What does that mean? Yeah. I mean, he tries to explain what that means, but yes, exactly. Like,
yes.
If you have a strong preference and particular things you're looking for, you can't just leave that to chance. I mean, how much time are you going to waste taking people out that you've got no interest in? Like, yeah.
Exactly. And like with the way that this is set up as well, like the second that you're together, you kind of feel like you're obligated to go on the date.
Yeah.
Which is not great either. So, yeah, I don't know. Okay, that makes me feel better that I'm not the only person who feels like that because I always feel like I'm really shallow when I say that. Looks are important.
It's not shallow to say because like you say, you can't, it's not saying that looks are everything, but like if you aren't attracted to somebody, then yeah, you can't make a relationship work. Of course, that's going to be a problem for you at some point. Yeah,
I just want to say the setup of this dating agency sounds really similar to the dating agency in Carry On Loving.
Yeah, that's
when Trigger says,
they fed all of my information into a computer. and it came out with a woman who was compatible with me.
I've just got this image of like Sid James or Hattie Jakes like behind the wall putting in the little card coming out the other side.
Right. And I was going to say that's like a matrimonial agency as well. I mean, like, because nowadays, like a young person, I know Dell is not a young person, but like young people would not go to an agency that called themselves a matrimonial agency, because this was like saying, right, we're going to find you a wife or a husband, which is not something that people really do anymore. But yeah, this place has got matrimonial in the name.
Yeah.
Which is like makes it seem a lot more serious. Just like that's what you said with Carry On Loving. That's like a matrimonial service, isn't it? You're trying to find a wife.
Here you go, Mr. Muppet. A muffin.
17, I think. I love that one. What?
Oh God, here we go on the carry on quotes. Don't get us started. We'll never stop. I want to say actually that I love seeing Trigger this confident. The way he leaves the pub with the bunch of flowers with his arm sort of out to weed through the crowd, and he has this air of confidence that I just don't think we ever see from him again, or even before this. I think this is like the only time we see that sort of like, well, maybe when he says, I think I've made my point. Like that bit, maybe. But
maybe.
I think we don't see it often from Trigger. And it's really nice to see that. Yeah. And confidence in romance as well. Because again, we don't really see it. So yeah, it's nice to see that. And we get a short conversation now between Boycie and Rodney before Dell comes over with the drinks. And again, this is not something we see often. I don't know if we've ever seen just these two sitting there having a laugh and having a chat together. It's quite a nice exchange between them there. And while they're talking, Dell is having a chat with Mike at the bar, and Mike complains about Albert singing in the pub. And Dell decides to book a surprise party for Albert's birthday, but Mike has some rules.
Doesn't sing.
Fair enough, Mike.
He doesn't use no bad language in front of the ladies.
Righto, Mike.
And he doesn't dance.
Gotcha, Mike.
He tells no rude jokes.
Goes without saying, Michael.
And he don't drink too much.
Perish the thought.
He just sits down quietly, soberly, and enjoys himself.
He's going to really look forward to this, Mike.
I think that whole list is hilarious, and Dell's like reaction is brilliant.
It sounds
like
the worst party ever, Mike's party.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, and you've run a pub. I mean, come on, you can't ever expect anyone to have a party and put those rules in place. So Dell joins Boycie and Rodney at the table, and Boycie says that he's rarely in the pub these days because he's down at the lodge with the other Freemasons.
Oh, yeah, the lodge.
Now, to this day, I still don't really understand what the Masons are, but I can only take Rodney's description at face value.
It sounds like a load of old snobs trying to clone another load of old snobs.
We're not snobs. Anyone can join. We come from all walks of life, right across the social spectrum. We've got estate agents, a judge, a commissioner of police, the mayor. We've got all sorts.
Yeah, so's Bertie Bassett.
So many liquors,
That's a great line.
And only
I know, but it's such a British thing, isn't it? You know, most people don't get that at all. Unless you're a Brit, you probably wouldn't get that. So Mickey and Jevon, as you mentioned, a new character, call Rodney away to the corner of the pub, leaving Dell and Boycie alone at the table. And Boycie complains that Rodney has a social conscience. At which point Dell says that he's proud of Rodney and he reminds him of their mum. And when Dell walks away, we get a great line from Boycie.
Standing in the corner of a pub with two geezers.
That is the end of that scene. Any notes on that scene, dude?
Yes. Yeah, because I put it's the first appearance of Nerys, but that's because she's behind the bar.
It's the next. Yeah. It's the next scene that Nerys is like spoken to.
But she's in the scene. So yes. So it's the first appearance of Nerys, and she was played by Andre Bernard. I think you say Andre, is that's how you pronounce it. But yeah, Nerys only appears in one other episode other than this. Can you name it?
Sickness and Wealth.
That's right. But she's been in loads of other shows, namely she was a huge part in Hollyoaks for 190 episodes. She's also been in the British Empire, The Bill, Doctor Who, lots of stuff. And I think the actress is pretty active in the convention scene in the UK because I've seen many people with their nice photos taken with her. So it's also the first appearance of Jevon. And so this is actor Stephen Woodcock, who's also, I think, been to quite a lot of conventions and stuff. I'm not sure if he has, but he's been in lots of other things, biggest parts being in Grange Hill and EastEnders. Off the top of your head, do you know how many episodes of Only Fools and Horses he was actually in?
Not many.
The
only other one off the top of my head, I know he's in Yuppie Love because he's in the club. And he's in Rodney Come Home, I think, because he's drinking. Oh, no, it's not him. It's the other guy. The other one who's introduced.
I thought he was
Chris.
in Rodney Come Home.
No, it's Chris that's at the bar with Mickey and Rodney in that episode, I think. Jevon, yeah, I'm not sure. He's not in many. I would guess 4 at the most.
He's in 5.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was close.
But I was trying.
What are the 5?
So dates, yuppie love, sickness and wealth, little problems, and the Jolly Boys outing.
Yeah, so he's not in Rodney
So he's
Come
not
Home.
in Rodney Come Home.
Yeah, because the other guy who's in this episode,
Chris,
who's
yeah.
in Rodney Come Home. Yeah, I said in my notes, I don't know his name because they don't mention what his name is in this episode. He just walks in and they're like, oh, hey, Rodney Trotter's got a date with Neris. They don't say, hi, Chris.
I think you're
like,
right.
There's nothing.
Yeah, I think they do not say
Yeah.
his name, which is weird. So yeah, so here I put here's the new Nags Head set, and we see that Mike and Boise are sitting by a window at the beginning. So we've never actually seen a window in the set before. So that's just part of the new set. And I looked up the show That's My Dog because Boise mentions it.
Oh yeah.
So it looks like it only aired in the UK from 1984 until 1988. It's kind of like, but then Blind Date, which they also mention here,
Yes.
was still on TV all the way up until 2020, despite taking many breaks.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently it's being brought back in 2025, but obviously 2025 is
I mean, it's a classic format. You can't go wrong, can you? It's,
Yeah, it's very like, I remember watching that when we were growing up. But yeah, I think that...
Of course, with Cilla Black.
Obviously 2025 is past now, but I didn't look it up again since I wrote this script. But so that's all I have for that bit, dude.
Okay, so now we go to outside the Nags Head, and Dell is walking down the street, and he notices Trigger taking his date into a restaurant.
Don't believe it. That's a woman.
So this is where Dell decides that he is going to go and use the match agency as well. I did find it funny that Trigger has met this woman and walked her to the restaurant, but he still hasn't given her the flowers until they got inside the restaurant. Like, surely the flowers are the first thing that you give when you meet the person, like Dell did with Raquel.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bit weird for Trigger to walk with them and the woman and then be like, oh, and here they are.
Well, it is Trigger.
She would have seen. I know, but still, I just thought that was really weird. Any notes on that part?
Just that, so this was shot outside the Bristol Flyer on Gloucester Road, and that was chosen because the Italian restaurant was opposite. And this is another location that you can see in the My Only Fools and Horses channel with Jason. Like, he's got some videos filming of this exact location. And also, just an observation that Trigger's date seems such a nice woman. She just seems really nice
she
and
does.
lovely. And she's like, oh, the flowers. Like, that's all.
Yeah, I agree.
I would have loved to have seen Trigger have an actual relationship. I think it would have been so nice to see him with, like, bringing a nice woman everywhere with him.
Yeah, I agree. Trigger deserved that. Totally agree with you. Okay, so back inside the Nag's Head, and we see that the barmaid, Neris, I said for the first time we see her, but you mentioned she was in the background in the other scene.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first time we see her interacting with anyone. So Rodney is clearly checking her out as she walks across the bar, collecting glasses, and he plucks up the courage to go over to her. And we can see straight away how skittish this woman is from the get-go.
What's your Neris?
Well, you made me jump.
Rodney asks her out on a date, and she agrees eventually through lots of conversation, but she does not look enthusiastic about it at all. Even when she says,
All right, then.
like, the way she looks at him is like, if I have to, it's not like, oh yeah, okay, I'd like to.
Right.
So we find out that Rodney has been telling people that he runs the business again because Neris points it out. I thought you run it. So surely Neris, working in the pub, it would be easy for her to find out that Dell is in fact the one who runs Trotter's Independent Traders and not Rodney. Again, why tell these kinds? Why ask? Why tell these kinds of lies? Because they're always gonna be found out. But Rodney always does, and so does Dell. So Rodney goes back over to Mickey and Jevon, who are standing in the corner of the pub still. And he tells them he's got a date with Neris. And they begin to wind him up about the kind of guy that Neris is into.
I've told you before. Neris goes for macho men. She prefers a bunch of fives to a bunch of flowers.
Poor Rodney falls for all of this once again. And Rodney, come on, dude. Like,
I know.
How do you not know Mickey Fierce by this point? And also, how do you not know Neris? All you have to do is speak to this woman for 2 minutes and you can see she's not like that. The way she reacted when you went over to her, everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's clearly not what he's saying. So it's a bit ridiculous that he believes him. But anyway. But I just said Mickey here is a bad friend again. And because I think Neris and Rodney actually would have been well suited if he'd just been himself on the date.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to what we said in A Royal Flush. Remember how I said it was so weird that Rodney doesn't lie about not being the boss or whatever with Vicky?
Yeah.
Like, if only he had just been that Rodney, the, like, polite and nice, he's my partner, like,
totally.
he's my brother. Like, that he goes back, like he reverts to the nervous kind of lying, I've got to make myself look better, Rodney. And then, yeah, like how silly of him to believe this story.
Okay, yeah, because so Rodney leaves the pub all fired up for his macho date with Neris, and another new character enters. And Jenny told us the name of this character, thank goodness, is Chris, because I wouldn't have no clue because they don't mention what his name is. But he's the one who gives the game away about Neris. He's literally just in this one part.
Who's the bird then? Neris. What? Nervous Neris? Yes!
How would Rodney not know that they call her Nervous Neris? Yeah.
Exactly. This is what I mean. This sort of stuff, I can't remember what it was about. It was about one of the... It was the Driscoll brothers. I was saying, like, how did Rodney not know them? This kind of world that Rodney lives in with Dell and this, like, community, if you like, that they all live in together, they all seem to know each other. And she works in the fucking pub, and long enough for Rodney to have fancied her and then plucked up the courage to go and ask her out. He clearly didn't meet her that day. At least I don't think he did, because he's like, what's your Neris? Like, he knows her. So it's just really weird, the fact that Rodney doesn't know about Neris being nervous. And again, even just the speaking with her, he should have been able to tell that. So it's just a bit weird. But I suppose for the funsies, it's fine. Okay, any other notes on that scene, dude?
Yeah, so the script describes Jevon as the immaculate Jevon. So first of all,
he is very handsome, Jevon.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot more descriptive of his behavior and yuppie love in the script, so we'll come to that in the next episode. Neris is described in the script as she is an attractive and shapely 19-year-old.
Yeah, Neris is pretty.
Although she speaks with a South London accent and her clothes are geared to accentuate her figure, she is not a tart.
No.
She is in fact rather nervous and neurotic type, although she hides it rather well.
And not that well.
I'm not sure about that part.
No, I was going to say, actually, yeah, you can really see the change in how they make Neris look from this episode into Sickness and Wealth. In Sickness and Wealth, she's wearing like a jumper that has the Nags Head logo on it and jeans. Like, very different style her character is dressed as in that episode compared to this one.
Yeah, I'm not sure I ever realised when I was a kid that was Neris in Sickness and Wealth. Like, I know now, obviously. So... I put Mickey being a great friend again, sarcastically, and now he's got another bad friend in Jevon. So, like, I don't know why he falls for this. I put Neris is very funny and jumpy. How can Rodney not see that she would be nicknamed Nervous Neris? Yes. Mickey Pierce says...
The only guy that could put her out is Red Adair.
So, just Red Adair was a famous American firefighter. So, I wrote that down just in case anyone needs to know that.
I needed to know that because I didn't know what that meant.
And then I put here, we also see Chris, played by actor Tony Marshall. And he was actually a massive part in Casualty. And he's had lots of other roles. But he's only in 3 episodes total. Can you name them? And I think you
named one of them, Ronnie Come Home.
So.
The other one,
this is hard, actually, because even I can't think when this is in that episode. But I wrote it down. I'm trying to remember.
Oh, God. I'm not going to get this. Can you tell me what the episode is and I'll see if I can remember where it is?
Mother Nature's Son. But I don't remember at what point in Mother Nature's Son he's in.
There must be in the Nag's Head, right? Because that's the only time that he would be there.
But I don't remember it either. But I wrote dates.
Is it
Mother
like
it
could be at the end when they're talking about going on the trip because they're in the pub then.
Could be, yeah.
And Dell comes over and says he's coming too, and then Rodney says, "Guess what?" So that's the only time I can think when they're in the pub, but maybe not.
I feel
I don't know. That is hard to know. I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's it. That's all I had.
Yeah, because he's I always thought of him as discount Jevon when I was growing up, because Jevon was like the main guy that was with Mickey Pierce all the time, and then this guy kind of came in when Jevon wasn't available. That's kind of how it looked.
Yeah, but then it's like, why
he had a similar character.
Why didn't Chris go on the Jolly Boys outing, and why wasn't Jevon and Rodney Come Home? I feel like it might have just been an availability thing. It's like they had
so he almost was like the replacement for Jevon if he wasn't there.
He's like, if Jevon's not around, and this is the only time you see Jevon and Chris together.
So now we go to the Techno Match dating agency. I'll just call it the short.
That's what it says on the window, right?
Yeah, it's got Techno Match, and then it's got like some small print underneath it. So I think that's where it's got the whole title of the agency. But Techno Match is okay for a name. So we don't see who's in the chair right away until we see the cloud of cigar smoke. And it's Dell. And he wants...
Well, bird.
Well, bird.
I love the fact he doesn't even say, bird. He just says, what kind of woman are you interested in? bird.
I feel like he's supposed to say a bird, and you just don't hear the A. I don't know. I always thought it was
No,
bird,
it just says,
too.
well, bird. It's really funny. So yeah, I've actually got to say, I really like the character who works in the dating agency. I think he nailed the portrayal of an employee having to deal with people that they think is like annoying or odd. He's super polite at all times. I just think, yeah, he's articulate. He's got this upbeat energy about him. Yeah, really like the character. Who was he played by? I assume you have that information.
Yeah, so he was played by actor Chris Stanton, who sadly passed away in 2020 at only the age of 62 from lung cancer. And he was actually a huge part in a CBBC show called MI High that aired from 2007 to 2014. So he would have been a familiar face for anybody that watched that show. And yeah, I agree. I think he's absolutely hilarious in the scene, the way that he handles Dell, because it's like such a thing that anybody that's ever worked in customer service knows that you have to just be like, of course, like to every little
absolutely
stupid
anything
thing.
you want. Yeah, I've written about it later in the scene, but one of my favorites is the response to, is she famous? I wouldn't have thought so, would you? It's just so polite when you want to be like, how dumb are you?
I really, I would employ some of his tactics in my customer service.
Yeah, definitely.
Jargon, for sure. Yeah, he's great.
So Dell lists a number of things that he wants from a potential partner, and the employee has some recommendations from the computer. So the things that Dell lists are so superficial. I can't imagine like any woman being particularly impressed by what he says, but I guess maybe it was a different time back then. I wonder why he chose to say that he was interested in the arts. This is something, I mean, he chose to do it so he looks like he's smart or something, right? But as far as we know, he's only ever attended one opera, and we know how that went.
Yeah.
So like when people lie on their CVs or applications, like don't they think about someone potentially asking them about this stuff at some point?
Well, I do, yeah.
You know, because this is exactly what happened. Yeah, like I would be so worried putting something like, oh, I'm a big fan of the arts, and it's like stressed multiple times. And then, of course, Raquel brings it up and Dell knows nothing about it. So it's just like, yeah, I don't know why you do that. Why wouldn't you want to say what you really are interested in, so you've got more of a chance of finding someone?
Yeah, because it's all going to depend on what you're looking for, but it does seem like Dell is looking for something more long-term. He's not just looking for a one-night thing. And then, like... Yeah, he asks Raquel out again at the end of the day. I mean, we'll get to that, but he's like, he's already made up all these lies. Like, how does he think that she's not going to find out the simplest thing, that his last name... Yeah, but we haven't got to that yet. But yeah, lying about anything is a mistake, in these cases.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
And I bring that up many times in this episode for obvious reasons. Yeah. So the first woman that the computer recommends is 38 years old.
Knocking on a bit, isn't she?
I wrote a note about the age thing again because, we were talking about, like...
Yeah, you can.
The ageism here. Like, it's hard to say how old Dell's supposed to be. We've got two different birth dates for him based on whether we believe the 13-year or the 18-year age gap. But we're going to have to go with the 18-year age gap because that's what Rock and Chips went with, right? Dell was 18 when Rodney was born. So Dell should be, like... David Jason was 48 at this time. Dell should be almost that age. Why is 38 knocking on a bit? But then, that is what people said about age difference. There should be at least 10 years, or it's like that was what was acceptable.
Yeah.
Because, again, we talked about the fertility thing. Like, Dell is still looking at having kids, and 38, to be fair, is considered old to have a child. But, like, it's not. I mean, Cameron Diaz just had a kid in her 50s. It's not. But in that day and age, it was definitely, and like, the further back you go.
Yes.
I remember Mom saying that even because she had Fran when she was 27, she said that was considered really old.
Yeah.
When she had her first kid. So, yeah, like that's what it's mostly about is fertility.
Yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, it's just interesting that he says that. But the agent reveals anyway that she specified a non-smoker. And David Jason does a really funny action with his cigar here where he puts it up to make himself go cross-eyed. I really like that little
love
thing
that,
he does.
yeah.
Again, all those little things that David Jason does to sort of bring his character to life, it's genius. Yeah, brilliant. And the next woman turns out to be perfect for Dell because, as we know, it's Raquel. And he says that she's 30 years old here. Mm-hmm. So... I guess that's important for continuity later on. And I just said, how old is Dell supposed to be here? So you're saying he's like 40, let's say 47, 48 years old.
Yeah,
like
David Jason was 48. So Rodney's age isn't said in this one, but by Yuppie Love, Rodney's 27. So if you add 18 years to 27, I mean, Dell is at least supposed to be in his late 40s by now.
Yeah.
So for Raquel to be 30... I personally, as Raquel, would not be looking for someone in their late 40s.
No, absolutely not.
But,
yeah, I'm the same.
then later in Time on Our Hands is the only time really where the parents say, well, she did say he was older than her. Like, that's the only time that's really brought up. Otherwise, they're considered to be age appropriate for each other. But if Dell was 48 and Raquel's 30, I feel like that is a pretty big age.
It's a pretty age gay back. Yeah, it's a pretty age gay back.
That is absolutely hilarious.
That's so appropriate for this episode as well because of the bum and rack thing later.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the agent says that Raquel is an actress.
Is she famous? I wouldn't have thought so, would you?
Like I already just mentioned about that line. I think that's brilliant. That lovely, polite, condescending reply. And we find out that the lady's name is Raquel Turner, so obviously we already know it's Raquel. And I'm actually wondering at this point about her separation from Slater. Because I wonder when she was supposed to be in her like relationship with Slater and when she was supposed to have left him. We know she's still married by the time we get to Class of 62, because that's why he's looking for her to get a divorce. She's looking for him to get a divorce. So obviously we know at this point that Slater is in prison, but I wonder if they were still together when he was arrested.
I feel like they weren't, but then that's quite a long time between De Hullenbach and now, so yeah.
Well, she also mentions later on that she was with her husband for 9 years. So if she's 30 and they've been separated for some time, she would have married him when she was like 17.
Yeah, 17, I think. Well, and also Roy Slater is supposed to be the same age as Dell because they were in class together. So is it not possible? Yeah, she could have got married to him at a really young age. So she could have got married when she was like 18, I guess. But it does seem like there isn't enough time for all of that to have happened.
Yeah.
Like if she got separated from Roy before he went to prison, and that episode was what, like 5 years ago? What's she been doing all these years? In a convent?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
that's what I mean. I just wondered about that.
We're splitting hairs, but yeah.
Of course we are. That's our job. The agent suggests
a good meeting place is under the main clock at Waterloo Station. It's rather traditional and, in its way, quite romantic. It evokes memories of Trevor Howard and Celia Johnson.
I just love his voice.
He's great.
And Dell asks the agent to arrange it, and he has some advice for Raquel.
Oh, and tell her to keep on her toes, because the last girl I met at Waterloo Station got mugged on the escalator.
Yes, I'll tell her.
At the end of the scene, the agent stresses the importance of honesty between the two of them, and Dell completely agrees.
I'm sorry, I've forgotten. Is there an E on the end of your name?
No E. It's Duval. Derek Duval.
And that's the end of the scene. Any notes on that scene, dude?
Well, yeah, I'll address that last line first, because in the script there's an extra line that wasn't said in the scene, which is it's from the French side of the family. So Dell would have added that in just to explain.
Of course, Dell chose a French name because he loves the French.
When I was a kid, this used to really bother me. The back of our VHS of dates said Derek Duval, and it had an E. Even though Derek says no E.
It did have an E.
That used to bother me, but that's such a silly thing to be bothered by. But then, again, splitting hairs. And now I would just like to get credit for the fact that I sat through the movie Brief Encounter in preparation for this episode. Because it's really, really long.
Oh my God.
And not much really honestly happens in it. But so Trevor Howard and Celia Johnson were the stars of Brief Encounter. There's their actors' names. So yeah, we'll talk more about it when Raquel says it's her favorite film in the next scene. But yeah, it's really long, and I'm not sure I really got much from watching it.
False advertising in the title then. Should have been called Long Encounter.
Yeah, it's not brief. I mean, it's anything but brief. It says in Lovely Jubbly that the agency was originally called Day to Date, but then got changed to Techno Match. I don't know. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Day to Date, because I'm a Star Trek fan.
Day to
Makes it sound like dating data.
Yeah, well, you would have liked that when you were a kid, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a crush on Brent Spiner as well. All right, lovely. So we go back to the Trotter flat. And I again think it's maybe the next day. This would be not Monday.
Well, this
would be a weekday. It must be because of Rodney needing to meet Neris on a weekday.
That's right, yeah.
So although it could be a few days later, considering Rodney is heading out with his date on for Neris, like who knows? It doesn't really matter. So
it doesn't matter.
I just want to kind of give a time frame for the episode. It doesn't matter.
I figure a couple of days have passed. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, a couple of days probably. So, yeah. So Dell comes into the living room and he's dressed very smartly. And Albert notices how Dell looks.
You going out?
No, I'm going to bleed the brakes on the van.
So Albert drops another hint about his upcoming birthday, and Dell continues to preen himself in the mirror, pretending not to know about Albert's birthday. So he's kind of ignoring it.
When I was a lad, I used to smashing birthday parties. But when you get to my age, nobody bothers.
Yeah, I know, it's a bark, isn't it, eh?
Yeah.
Aw, poor
He
Albert.
essentially calls it a bark. I wonder where that comes from as like a negative term. So Albert starts asking questions about Dell's date, and Dell finds it increasingly difficult to answer as he has never met Raquel.
Oh, is she tall, short, dark, fair, fat or thin?
Look, she's an actress. She keeps changing her appearance.
How are you going to recognise her then?
Look, I'll recognise her. Just don't keep going on about it, will you?
Good points, though, by Albert.
Yes, of course, because Dell's bullshitting. He doesn't know what she looks like. So now here we get a slight glimpse into how the Trotters stay on top of their chores, because Albert says he's going to do laundry and Dell says it's not your day, is it?
Right.
So I guess they have some sort of rota to do the chores and they all pitch in, which is interesting because I can't think of a single time when I've seen Dell or Rodney doing chores in any episode.
No.
I've seen Albert do them, and obviously Raquel a lot in the later episodes, but I never see Dell. I know Dell says, we didn't, when Raquel asks about how they kept it clean. But then they seem to make out here that Rodney and Dell at least do laundry when it's their day.
Yeah. I always thought that like Albert and then Grandad prior to him did all the housework because Dell and Rodney are out working and earning the money.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the first time you've ever heard any sort of like idea that maybe they have a cleaning rota. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty funny.
Weird. It's not your day to do the laundry. Yeah, it's weird. So anyway, Albert says that Rodney is also going out and leaves the room. And then Dell has a little practice on how he's going to speak to Raquel. And honestly, it's lovely seeing Dell this excited about a date.
Yeah.
I think I always assume that Dell's character has lots of women in his life, but he doesn't really have like that excitement about dating. So it's really cool to see that side of him. And I think the last time we saw him like this about a woman was in Diamonds Off a Heather. So the less said about that, the better. So Dell goes behind the bar to have a quick livener. And Rodney comes in dressed in a leather jacket and looking like he just stepped out of the Grease cast. Looks like he's about to sing Grease Lightning. And this gets a huge laugh from the audience. And this sequence reminds me of Rodney's entrance to Debbie's flat in Happy Returns, because
I wrote
the
that
same kind of
too,
thing.
Yeah. It's a similar
Yeah,
kind
of
of
course.
setup, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, similar, very similar. So Dell doesn't sneak up behind him in the sequence, though. He does a cough, and that makes Rodney jump, just like Neris. And you would think, with them all living in the flat, that they would do like a quick room scan each time they enter a room to make sure no one else is there, especially if they're going to do stuff like this in the mirror, like Rodney does, posing and stuff. So, yeah. I don't know.
I thought you got a date with that Neris bird.
Yeah, I have.
Well, you better hurry up and get changed. You're late.
I am changed.
We're going out like that?
Well, what's wrong with me?
Well, you look like an hooligan.
It is the fashion. And you read about it. It's called the James Dean look.
Yeah, but when they said the James Dean look, they meant before the crash.
Yeah, it's just, again, just that banter between them is brilliant. I'd actually love to know if Rodney brought those clothes specially, or these were clothes that he actually already had in his wardrobe, because they mentioned he has a leather jacket, or had a leather jacket in Cash and Curry that Dell wanted to pawn, but leather jackets are quite expensive, so I find it hard to believe that Rodney would just have one kind of lying around. And this one looks like it's in pretty good condition as well.
And it fits him as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
But you never see him in it any other time, so...
I mean, it definitely doesn't suit
Yeah.
his like older Rodney kind of vibes that he gets after Yuppie
No.
Love. But yeah, he could have definitely have worn this more in his younger years instead of his camo jacket or that other really torn jacket that he had for the first couple of series.
That's what I mean. I feel like maybe he did go and get this specially for the date with Neris, so he looked more like a bad boy.
Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't know if the James Dean look was actually a term that was coined in those days as how to look like with the leather jacket. Obviously, James Dean was like a very attractive young guy who he died when he was only 24 in a car crash. Yeah, he looks like Rodney. This looks like he has an outfit that he's taken from his own closet. Like this looks like it fits him. So, yeah. I would think Again, it's like the last time that they tried to make Rodney look like younger. Like after Yuppie Love, he's neatened up.
Yeah.
Although dressing him up in silly things in the future becomes like another thing that they do a lot with the character of Rodney.
Yeah, that's true. They do. Again, it's his physicality.
Yeah.
It just makes it so much more funny.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
Nick Lindhouse does all those moves and stuff in front of the mirror so well and in such a comedic way that this was like a really good scene. Again, because he humiliates himself by not knowing Dell can see him doing all the facial expressions and stuff. So yeah, it's a really great scene.
Yeah, totally agree. So Albert comes back in and he also makes fun of Rodney's clothes.
Where you taking her then, scrumping?
Which is apparently stealing fruit from an orchard or a garden.
Yeah.
When I googled what scrumping is, that's what it said it is. So he thinks she's taking Neris to steal fruit.
Yeah, this
what?
This reminds me of the sort of line Grandad would have said.
Yes.
Yeah, like Dell and Rodney, Dell and the older character laughing at Rodney's silliness of a young date. Like, yeah. And the contrast between Dell and Rodney dressed ready for their dates in this scene is really funny.
I know, it's great. Yeah, it's very funny. I totally agree. So before he leaves, Albert tells Rodney that Dell is going to lunch with a world famous actress. And this just, you know what I'm going to say now, don't you? So we have a thing. Dad, I'm sorry, we're going to tell the world about this. When we tell our dad something, like if I tell Dad something one day and then he speaks to Jenny the next day, suddenly it's become exaggerated considerably. So if I said that I was sick for 3 days to my dad and then he spoke to Jenny the next day, Dad would be like, I was in bed with it for a week with the flu. It's just, you know you do, Dad. So Dell tells Rodney the name of the actress he's going on a date with, and then we get this amazingly funny joke.
Raquel Turner.
Well, yeah, have you heard of her?
No.
Yeah, this is so
And
good.
this is another moment where it looks like David Jason is about to laugh for real. He looks like he's going to crack up here, and he looked like he was really struggling to hold it back, especially because the camera lingers on him and he has to look pissed, and he just obviously found it so funny.
I agree.
The way that Nick Lindhurst did that. It's brilliant.
You been in anything?
Yes, loads of things, but nothing that you would have seen her in, Rodney.
And what's that supposed to mean?
She has not been on Top of the Pops or repeats a Batman.
It's actually funny that Dell says that Raquel has not been in anything that Rodney would see, because I feel like Rodney might have seen that episode of Doctor Who.
Yeah, but he doesn't know at that point, does he? But he also doesn't know that she hasn't been in Top of the Pops or repeats of Batman.
That's very true. Exactly.
But yeah, it doesn't matter.
So we find out that Dell has booked a table at the Hilton Hotel for he and Raquel to Hilton, see, for him and Raquel to have lunch. So Dell is really pushing the boat out here.
Yeah.
That restaurant, oh my God, I'll talk about it more when we get to that scene. But so Rodney queries where Dell would meet an actress, and Dell manages to put him off the scent here pretty well, because Rodney says that an agency called of him the other day, which is clearly the dating agency, and you can see Dell starting to panic, but then Dell goes along with Rodney's theory that his friend is an agent and that's how he met the actress. So that worked out very well for Dell. He didn't even have to lie, really. And Rodney sees Dell throwing on the aftershave.
Dell, you don't think you might be being a little bit, well, ostentatious?
Well, maybe, but I can afford it.
To be called ostentatious would be a compliment to Dell, I think.
Yeah,
because like most people wouldn't like being called that, but Dell's like, yeah, I am ostentatious. Like, I am a snob. It's all good. So Dell dismisses Rodney's criticism of him being over the top and goes into the kitchen to leave for his date, at which point he brings out a ridiculously large bunch of flowers, proving that Rodney was indeed correct. And actually, I've got to say, I love the smelly sock that's left on the bouquet.
Yeah.
And he throws it onto Rodney before he goes out the door. It just shows the difference in, like, their appearance. Like, Rodney can have, like, a smelly sock thrown on him, and Dell is, like, all pristine. I just really like that about, the way they look. And Rodney was spot on with his advice here about Raquel. This kind of goes more into the next scene, but I just want to say it here because you can tell that she is not comfortable at all in the environment that Dell takes her to, that restaurant. And she probably would have preferred something far more down to earth, like a home-cooked meal, which is what she suggests for the next date.
Or a Bernie Inn.
Yeah, or a Bernie Inn. Exactly. Why didn't Dell want to do that? I used to love that. But this is the era. In fact, yeah, if Dell had taken Miranda to the Hilton, then it would have been fine, you know?
Right.
It's funny. But yeah, in this era where Dell becomes more of a yuppie, it's not surprising that he wanted to take her somewhere like the Hilton because, yeah, that's kind of his thing now, isn't it? So, yeah, that's all I had for that scene. So, any notes?
Yeah, he hasn't fully done the yuppie yet because that starts in the next episode. But yeah, now that he's more well-to-do and he is, in this case, trying to impress Raquel and be this new Derek Duval character that he's created, yeah, he chooses an over-the-top place. But yeah, they're both out of place there, which we see in the hotel scene, which we're going to get to. Yeah, ironically, should have just done the Bernie Inn or a more casual restaurant because this is but then this is Dell, you know, going down this road of, and now I'm dating a real famous actress.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, the only other note I actually had that we haven't said, I wrote, I think it's really nice how we see the Trotters together in this scene because you don't get that much more Dell and Rodney together in this episode, not till the end. So it's nice to have this comedic scene with them before we go off into the two separate storylines.
Yes.
And then the sock in the bouquet of flowers is not in the script. So I wonder if that was an idea they just had while they're on the set. They were like, we've got all this laundry, like let's throw like a sock into the bouquet.
I was going to say, I wonder because Rodney says, have you got my socks and pants in there to Albert before he leaves? Maybe like that was the reason they put the sock in. It's like Albert did miss the sock and it fell into the bouquet of flowers.
But there's quite often like a little moment, isn't there? Like at the end of a scene or like a physical thing that I say, this is not in the script. So it must have been very common for, I always think it's David Jason. Like he's just like sees a prop or something.
Absolutely.
Because he was always really good at engaging in the environment that he saw those socks and he was like, this will be really funny. Let's put a sock in the bouquet. And then when I come out the kitchen, I can be like, what's this? And like throw it out. I just think it's really funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
That was it. Yeah. That's all I have for that scene.
Okay, so this next sequence is a bit difficult to sort of talk about it scene by scene because it's like it cuts back and forth between Rodney and Dell's dates. So I'll probably won't. I'll do them as like little individual scenes, but yeah, it's very quick, very short scenes, all in concession with each other.
Right.
So firstly, we go to Waterloo Station, and Dell is standing underneath the big clock with his comically large bunch of flowers, and we can surmise here that Raquel is a bit late. What do you mean it's a bit late? As Dell was checking his watch and looking a bit pissed off. And a police officer appears to be watching Dell, maybe thinking that he looks a bit suspicious, and Dell kind of gives him the side eye. I'm not really sure what the joke is there, if Dell's just annoyed that sort of someone's watching him being stood up. Because it's only that little sequence and it cuts to Rodney. So do you have anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, so I've put like a chunk of my notes about Waterloo and the filming into this first little bit.
Yeah.
So I'll just go through all of those because it's before we start talking about Waterloo. So
yeah,
I wrote that this scene opens on the clock showing 12:30. So this is basically just going to be sequential. It's going to keep getting later and later. I don't know what time they were supposed to meet either. I can't remember.
No.
But yeah, so
12 probably.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, let's say it was 12:30 because then she doesn't arrive for like another half an hour or something after this, right? So the scene was written for Victoria Station clock, which is right by the Hilton Hotel. And they changed it to Waterloo for several reasons. First, they preferred this clock and the concourse. They preferred the look of it. And there was a direct train from Bristol to this station. So it really helped with the production because the bulk of the production was in Bristol. So they were able to just train back and forth between Waterloo and Bristol. So if you think about Tony Dow's first experience as a director, this is a huge episode to have undertaken for him. It was very difficult for them to film this scene. And one major reason for that was that they weren't allowed to change the time on the clock. So if they wanted to show like this like time elapsing, they had to make sure that they got these shots at the right time and not fucked it up. Oh God, they only had this one day to film.
I mean, but they're all close-ups of the clock though, right? When they show the time.
I think there's long shots, yeah, which include the clock. And they didn't have like technology to edit it like we would nowadays. We would just put another clock over the top. So this was Tony Dow's first full day as a director filming this scene. So he and the crew were actually up on a big scaffolding rig which looked down on the station. And you can see lots of pictures of this if you look it up. Like there's loads of shots of them all in this rig at Waterloo, which was quite cool. So I put most of my notes here about casting of Raquel into this little section. So as we know, Tessa Peake Jones is the actress that plays Raquel. She's seen for the first time in this episode, but she goes on to be a major character almost all the way to the end. You've still got her absence throughout the 6 episodes of series 6, but once she returns in Jolly Boy's outing, she's a permanent cast character. So Tessa Peake Jones was born in 1957, so she would have been 31 when she played this part. She was cast by Tony Dow. She recalls that she was sent the script by her agent and she really liked the character of Raquel, but she had never seen the show. So I got that fact from Lovely Jubbly. It does contradict what it says in the official Inside Storybook, which mentions that she watched To Hull and Back in 1985 with her godmother, Aunt Reenie. Say Aunt Reenie, who said it was her favourite show, and all of her family watched the show, and it had gone on, and they had gone on for years about how good it was. Yeah, contradictory, because it does say she'd never seen the show before, so I'm not quite sure which piece of information is correct. I think I might be maybe misunderstanding what it said in Lovely Jubbly, because if she watched To Hull and Back, that means she'd seen it before, because that's 3 years prior to this.
Yeah.
So she said she thought the show was hysterical when she watched it. It was like this whole new world opened up to her, so she suddenly became a huge fan.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what Lovely Jubbly meant is that she was cast and then she watched To Hull and Back. It doesn't read that way, so I'm not sure, but either way, it doesn't matter. So maybe Tessa Peake Jones, come on the show and explain exactly what you meant by all that. Yeah.
Yes.
So I wonder if she thought when she watched To Hull and Back that she was going to end up being Roy Slater's ex-wife. That crossed my mind. So she mentions that the script had heart and was very moving at points, but very funny. So she thought there would be lots of people trying out, but she said the whole process was quite quick and she got the call right away to play the part. So I feel like this is a consistent thing we hear about the casting. The people are like, oh yeah, I got called quite quick. So if it goes along with the rest of the the rest of the series chaotic stuff, it kind of makes sense that they cast people in a rush. They were like, as soon as we've got someone that we think is good, get him in here.
Yeah, true.
Because they did that with Buster Merrifield. He was cast and the next morning he was on the set for a hole-in-one, remember?
Yes.
So the first time she met David Jason and John Sullivan was at Television Centre for read-throughs, and she came out thinking, wow, I'd like this job. They're all really lovely. It just seems like an interesting project, and she says she can't remember how long it was before they phoned, but when she told people that she got the role, everyone was really excited because they knew the show.
Yeah.
And so her first day filming was the Waterloo Station shots. And so she was very happy to see David Jason again, holding that big bunch of flowers.
Yes.
And she says it was hilarious acting with him that day. And I remember thinking, we're going to get on fine.
They have a lot of chemistry.
They do.
They do. Even though they're very different in age, they have a lot of chemistry.
Yeah, and when they're off camera, like between shots, I don't know if you've ever seen like the outtakes from Modern Men when they're in the bed. Because like
I think I
there was
have.
something wrong, yeah, when they were filming Modern Men and they had to like entertain the audience for a while, and they have good chemistry off camera. So like, they have a good chemistry together. So I have one more Tessa Peake Jones quote here, which I think is quite relevant, especially since we've mentioned the casting of women and the lack of female characters so far. So this is a quote that she said, "Comedy was quite a male-dominated area then, and I thought the part of Raquel was fabulous. Suddenly John Sullivan, a man who wrote brilliantly for men but hadn't written that much for women, had created this fabulous, well-rounded part for a woman. Raquel was a bit lost and trying to make enough money to keep herself going. She wanted to be an actress and she had a heart of gold, and then she met a similar man in a way. The script had touched upon things like loneliness and marital problems, which seemed to me to have real depth."
Yes.
So, yeah, that's all great points there. You can move on to the next bit, which I think is Rodney and Neris's date starting, right?
Yes, correct. So Neris is waiting on the street and Rodney pulls up in the yellow three-wheeled van. And Neris looks a bit confused as to whether or not this is Rodney.
Yeah, it's just the Trotters Independent Traders van.
Yeah, so she goes over to the van and she sees Rodney sitting there trying to play it cool.
Is this a three-wheeled van?
Well, it was the last time I counted.
Even that response is very like, I'm a cool guy.
It's just a stupid question, though.
I know, it is. Neris does not look happy to be there at all. And Rodney tries to find out where they should go. And I've got to say, this is so, I relate to this so hard. Like those people that always act like they're really like easygoing, open-minded, like, I don't mind. And every single suggestion you make, they're like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that. Like criticizing it. And in the end, they decide to just cruise.
What, in a three-wheel van?
Yes. This will be an experience you will never forget, Neris.
At which point, Rodney goes to throw a cigarette out the window without realizing that it's wound up. And he totally breaks his cool demeanor. So this is why you should always be yourself, because your true self is going to come out eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Rodney's a fuck up through and through. It's all good. So yeah, I just think that's a very funny part, and it gets a huge laugh from the audience when Rodney throws the cigarette into himself.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's great. Do you have any notes on that little bit, dude?
Just that, why does Rodney drive so far past Neris? Like, why doesn't he just stop right next
think
to
about
her?
that.
I don't know why he does that. He would have been a
Maybe he's
terrible
a bad
Uber
driver.
driver. That's all I had. Yeah.
Maybe the three-wheel van doesn't stop where you want it to stop. It has a lot of other problems. So, okay, so now we go back to Waterloo Station. And I've got to say, this is hilarious, this sequence here. So Dell is standing there waiting for Raquel still. More time has passed. I don't think much time. You've got 12:35 written in the script, so only 5 minutes later than the previous scene.
Right.
And he spots a woman with her back to him and takes a chance that it could be Raquel.
Hello.
Hello, love.
Blimey, you're not Raquel, are you?
I can be anyone you want me to be.
So this woman is clearly a prostitute and she thinks that Dell is her next customer. After trying to fob her off nicely, Dell becomes quite aggressive.
I'm beginning to lose my rag with you, sweetheart. Now, I'm going to count to 10, right? Then I'm going to shove these flowers right up your...
You realise that will be extra.
This exchange is so funny. I'm really curious to see what word Dell said that was bleeped out by the train. So I actually paused the video right before he said the word, and it looks like he was making an F sound. So I'm going to assume that he said fanny.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not in the script. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to shove these flowers right up your fanny would make sense because then she says that would be extra. But I actually got to say, I would have loved to have heard him say that word if that's what the word was. But the police notice the exchange and the prostitute, walks away and leaves. But I don't think I got this as a kid at all, what this situation was. I don't even think I knew what a prostitute was. I just think that I thought Dell thought she was really ugly. That's what I thought was the issue.
Right, but then why did you think the policeman was interested? And maybe because you thought Dell was being threatening towards
Yeah,
her?
because Dell was being threatening. Yeah, that was why I thought. I never thought that it was, well, again.
Yeah, as a kid.
Why would I think that as a kid? So, but yeah, I think that sequence is really funny. I don't suppose you know who played the prostitute, do you?
Yeah, Jean Warren.
Great.
So a few notable credits on IMDb, including the Bill and the Ruth Rendell Mysteries. But I actually just saw a photo last night of her acting with David Jason in something else before Any Fools and Horses, but I didn't write down what it was. So yeah, she would have already acted with him in the past.
Yeah, she was very funny, and I love how cool and calm she was, even though Dell was getting more and more mad. It was just really, very funny.
She would have been used to it, right? Like aggressive.
Yeah,
people.
true.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now we go back to Rodney and Neris's date, and we're back in the car, and obviously the cigarette has been put out, and they're driving along, but they're not talking. And Neris looks pretty worried. So we see a group of guys getting into another car, like a red convertible on a driveway, and they spot the three-wheel van speeding around the corner, and the people in the red car shout, "What's that?"
Yeah.
And they pull out in front of Rodney's car, hurling abuse at him. Rodney, feeling the need to keep up the tough guy act, responds by putting up his middle finger and shouting,
Wibble on that! Weren't you frightened?
What, them punks? No way.
So I do wonder if Rodney actually doesn't feel afraid of people in that area, because I would have thought most people would know that he was Del Boy's little brother and they wouldn't mess with him for that reason alone. I mean, I suppose it's possible that these lads wouldn't know who the Trotters are, but I feel like it's kind of everyone knows who the Trotters are, right?
I mean, yeah, you would think, and with that distinctive van as well. I mean,
yeah,
but it's definitely not in Rodney's character to be kind of a tough guy. Like, he would have normally just scampered away,
no,
and not stood up to them. He was just trying to impress Neris, right?
Yeah, of course. But I just wonder why you would have any reason to fear, because Dell is feared enough.
Yeah, but Dell,
that he wouldn't need
Dell's
to...
not around at that time, I guess, and those guys seemed like they were all either drunk or taking drugs or something.
Yeah,
so.
But anyone that would hurt, I'd imagine if Rodney got beaten up really badly, Dell would be the first one to go after the people that had done it. So I don't know.
Sure.
I don't want to get on the wrong side of Dell. Dirty little fire. Any notes on that scene, dude?
So all of Rodney's car scenes where he's driving around were filmed in Bristol, apart from the dual carriageway shot and the jump of the van. So Mostly Bristol. And the song that starts playing in the scene with the convertible is Burning Bridges by Status Quo from 1988, which was the song they used to then make Come On You Reds in 1994.
Yeah, I always thought it was Come On You Reds, this song that was playing in the car.
Yeah, so it's the same song essentially, but Come On You Reds did not come out till 1994. So yeah, that was 6 years later than this episode was released. So.
Okay, so now we go back to Waterloo Station and we're going to meet Raquel finally. Dell has given up on Raquel by this point. He puts the bouquet of flowers down on the floor. I think it's like 12:45 p.m. That's what you said.
Yeah, that's 12:45. Yeah.
When he puts the flowers on the floor, as if by magic, it seems to summon Raquel, and she walks over. But hilariously, Dell does not think this is Raquel. He looks her up and down, and he says,
"Look, he nearly nicked one of your mates just now, so I'd have it away in your toes if I were you."
I just think this is really interesting that Dell looked at Raquel and assumed she was a prostitute, which would say to me that he didn't much like the look of her, actually.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why they put that joke in, but
yeah. It's a bit weird. But fortunately, he quickly realizes his mistake and Raquel apologizes for being late. And this is another one of those situations that would be completely different today because of mobile phones.
Yes.
Wouldn't be anyone standing there under a clock getting stood up. So Dell shoves the giant bouquet of flowers in Raquel's
These are
face.
for you.
And actually, I was going to say, the way that this is filmed makes it even funnier because it looks like he shoves it like in the camera, like that covers the whole screen. It's just very cleverly shot, just to really sell like how large this bunch of flowers is. And he tells her that he has booked them a table for lunch, so they go to leave.
This is a bit like Brief Encounter, isn't it?
Do you reckon?
That's my favourite film.
Oh yeah, and it's mine. Yeah, mine.
Really?
Yeah. My favourite bit is when the big spaceship comes down and all the little Martians come out.
That's Close Encounters.
Yeah, I love it.
Any notes on that scene, dude?
Yeah, so the description of Raquel from the script is, in her early 30s, she is attractive and has a good figure, and Dell studies her appearance. Her clothes are smart, but not designer stuff. She is working class, from any part of the country, and has to watch her pennies. It continues to say, we shall discover that she has been hurt in her life, and when this happens, people react in one of two ways. They either become hard and distance themselves from any possible further harm, or they try even harder to please others in the hope that someone will like them. Raquel is all of the latter persuasion. She's a very nice and warm and friendly lady. So I think that comes across quite well just in this first encounter. And I noted here that Dell seems different somehow when he's meeting Raquel from any other previous encounters with women. And it's not just because he's trying to be like more upper class, which he is. He's trying to hide the fact that he's working class.
Yeah.
But at this point, as we walk away, he hasn't actually lied. I mean, he lies and says Brief Encounter is his favourite film.
Yes.
But he hasn't lied about anything important at this point. Although I suppose he says the Hilton's his most favourite restaurant, which could be a lie, but maybe it's not. Maybe it is his favourite restaurant. He's just never eaten there.
I mean, but he just could never afford to eat there usually. So
yeah. And like I don't think that it is anything like Brief Encounter, like from the movie. So Brief Encounter is not about it's about an affair. So the woman that meets the Cecilia Johnson, Trevor Howard, when they meet, it's an affair. She's married. I think he's married too. Yeah.
Right.
And it's a very sad movie because they do meet and they spend the day together away from the station, which I guess is the only part that is like this, except then they continue an affair and the movie does not have a happy ending. So, spoiler alert.
Yeah, I'm never going to watch it. So.
No,
Or
I mean,
maybe our punters are.
the acting in the movie is really good. It's just old movies like this, black and white, quite slow, very character kind of development, not plot developing, or they can be kind of boring, I guess, in this day and age. I think it's a well-made movie for its time, but I struggled to get all the way through it. But I wanted to watch it because I wanted to see if there was any like direct references from it in this, and really, just meeting at the station is pretty much the only reference. Okay, so shall we leave it there for today, dude? Because we're going to be doing part 2 as a separate episode, which will also include the awards. So please do join us next week for part 2 of Dates. Until then, I'd like to get you on a slow boat to China.
Au revoir, listeners. If you like what you hear and want to contact us, you can email us at longlivehookystreetpodcast@gmail.com. All one word, no spaces. Please like the video and subscribe. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, iHeart, Instagram, Facebook, and please use the link in the description for our Buy Me a Coffee. Bonjour.